go. Man, that was a tough launch. Woo! There's our buddy. Got some good video of us launching and failing to launch it. Man, that was a tough morning. But we're up here. This was all grass last time I was here. Now it's all dirt. Woo! So we're going to get a little bit of altitude. Start heading off in this direction over here. Aside from the fact that there was no wind, it's a beautiful morning. But no wind is my life out here, it seems. We also did some adjustments on our harness. Now we're actually sitting a little bit reclined like we were originally. For some reason, my straps came out of adjustment a little bit. But we're going to trim out. So we're trimmed all the way out now. Definitely a lot more speed. There's our target right there. Stow our brakes and relax a little bit. We're really cruising. So, sorry about not having any videos in a little while. Had a little vacation. Road tripped up to New York. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to bring the Paramotor So there was no flying to be done. But I've got a lot of hobbies, so we were able to indulge a few of those. But so hopefully you can see it. But that is Gatorback Cycle Park from the air. Year before last, we were able to do a hare scramble race on the dirt bikes from this track. But for some reason last year it was canceled and we weren't able to come out here, which is pretty disappointing because it's definitely the best track that we had on the schedule for the entire year. I heard rumors about why they canceled it, but they said that they had sold off the land around the track and they were going to be developing it, but the race was supposed to be 6 months ago, and obviously there's no development. So, but the track doesn't look nearly as crazy from a couple thousand feet as it does from ground level. It's pretty crazy down there. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. So anyway, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is training. So obviously a majority of people out there are going to tell you to go to a paramotor school. There are a lot of paramotor schools out there, and a lot of them are probably very good paramotor schools. I know that a lot of them are good. But a lot of people look at the cost of school and they question whether it's worth what they're getting out of it. So I'm right in that weird spot on my RPM. It's jumping around. So a lot of people question whether training is worth the money that they're paying for it. And so a lot of people want to self-train. And I am obviously a completely self-trained pilot, if you will. I feel like that term somewhat describes me. Obviously, self-taught, self-trained. That kind of alludes to the fact that I had no help whatsoever. And in fact, there are a lot of videos on YouTube which they'll tell you that they're not specifically for training. They don't subsede or supersede training or whatever. That it's just supposed to be in addition to training. But there's a lot of good information out there. And you can really learn a lot from those videos. And the thing about it is, self-training is not for everybody. You really have to be honest with yourself in regards to your knowledge of aviation, in regards to your comfort level with just going head first into something that you're not familiar with. you're going to have to learn a lot of things that, might not be immediately noticeable when people go and fly. Weather is one of those things that, you can learn a lot from, different videos out there. Kyle O has a lot of great weather videos. I would highly recommend watching those. But, there's a lot of information out there online that can really help you to learn about those things. But in the end, you don't know what you don't know. So there are some things that I just didn't know that I was supposed to know them until, I made an attempt to fly, or until I had done a few flights. And obviously not all the information that you need can be found on YouTube, or at least easily. Well, we never started our foot cam. Oh no. See if we can fire that up. There we go. It also looks very dirty, so that should be good footage. Sorry, foot cam. So, yeah, the reality of it is there's a lot of things that you just, you might not realize that you need to learn. And, like the way that I'm laying out my wing, I'm not sure that I really saw that in a video anywhere that told me, like, oh, this will make your nil wind launches easier. Or, when I looked at the information on my wing, the Dudek Solo, it said that the recommended launch configuration was fully trimmed in. But upon doing more research online, a lot of people recommend trimming to somewhere between 3 and 4 because that will allow for the wing to come up a little easier, and it doesn't have quite as much of a tendency to fall back behind you. Or the biggest issue that I had with it was whenever I went to launch, it was like I hit a brick wall whenever I got to the end of my line and hit the wing, and it would dead stop me, and I couldn't keep my momentum going forward enough, and then the wing would fall back. So trimming out a little bit made a big difference, but that's, it's not something that you would really know unless you do a lot of research. So if you're gonna try to teach yourself how to fly a paramotor, you really need to do a lot of research on your own. You're going to do a lot of kiting, and you're going to learn a lot from the videos of people kiting. And I would recommend doing a lot of, forward launches without the motor on your back. You're going to do taxi tests. I don't know. I have seen some, videos of Kyle O and a few others where they're doing taxi tests, but it's not something that I saw a lot of in videos. So it wasn't something that I was familiar with the perfect technique on. And one of my first taxi tests, I got the lines pulled into my propeller, and it busted my outer hoop. And so the previous owner of my motor, I don't know if I doubt he was doing a taxi test. He was probably flying, but he did the same thing. He had the lines pulled in to the propeller. So we're going to trim in a little bit, decrease our dive here, if you will. We're going to trim all the way in, actually. Looks like our photographer friend is still down there, I think. Looks like he's standing in that field down there next to the RC track, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's the thing. There's just a lot of things that,
on one of my, I think it was my second flight, or my second attempt to fly, actually, really pulling to the left. On my second attempt to fly, I got the wing up above my head, but there was a fore and aft oscillation. So I had a pitch oscillation, and that caused, I rushed through my taxi, and the wing oscillated back. I was traveling fast enough to where it lifted me up off the ground about 2 feet or so, and I thought that I was, taking off, and it quickly started setting me back down. Now, I didn't jump in my seat. I was still, running, if you will, but the grass was super slippery, and whenever I came back down, my feet just slipped right out in front of me, and I was still on throttle. I never let go of throttle. Ooh. You can definitely feel the wind is going this way. But yeah, I was still on throttle, and I hit down on my butt, struck my prop on the ground, had to replace a $320 e-prop. So, unfortunately, there's just a lot of things that, I didn't see that as being a potential issue. I never foresaw that, if I didn't take my time with my taxi and make sure that the wing was super stable above my head, make sure that, there was not only no roll left to right oscillation, but also no fore and aft pitch oscillation. I rushed through that, and I ended up, costing myself some money. I actually busted a little spot on my frame. So yeah, I had to repair all that stuff. Obviously, we got back up in the air, but the way that I look at it at this point is, training. I don't know if training could have prevented that. It's possible, but there are also a lot of guys out there that are in training and have a prop strike. They sit down too early, whatever happens. There's a lot of different things that could cause it, but it happens to guys that are in training that have paid, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to be trained. Accidents happen. We're flying, so there's always that possibility. But the reality of it is, you never know what's going to happen. But training possibly could have prevented that, or it might not have prevented it. But as long as I don't damage more than, we'll say $4,000 worth of kit, then at least financially I'm ahead. So we're going to do one practice approach, kind of feel out the wind, get everything, feel everything out. It feels like, it always feels like when I get this low that I'm flying super fast. But obviously, I guess it's all just perspective, but we're going to kind of feel out our approach angle here, our altitude. Obviously, there's no wind on the surface there, but all right. So yeah, it does feel smooth. We're obviously, that wasn't the altitude we needed to be at, but I knew that. So, the closest I've flown to treetops. Pretty cool. So, I'm going to try to circle around right above these treetops. See if we can bust an approach. not into a dumpster, preferably. Oh boy, I don't like it. Don't like it.
I think that I made too many corrections and kind of induced an oscillation. I'm going to see if we can make more of an approach from the other side of this water tower, actually. That way I don't have to make so many corrections. We can kind of be a little more straight in with our approach. But yeah, this is with that dumpster there and all the trees and the water tower and all that, it makes it a little trickier.
It's a little trickier of an approach. So we're going to come a little ways out here. We're going to try to make a longer approach in. Obviously, we've got some power lines right below us there. Yeah. I felt like the wind is coming out of our right a little bit, but as we get lower, it seems to die down a lot. I wanted to try and make an approach more directly in to the wind, but once we get down here, there really is no wind, so I don't know that part really matters.
Okay, so I want you guys to pay attention here, and you can see as I make my approach, you can't really see the windsock all that well, but there's really not much wind on the windsock. However, I think that there was a small amount of crosswind that pushed me a little bit to the side, and when I went to make a correction, I made it too fast or whatever happened. I ended up capturing my first face plant landing on video. So if we watch it from the foot cam perspective, you can see me kill my motor, and you can already kind of see a little bit of a roll oscillation, but I feed in my brakes and it seems like I'm pretty even, but I know it looks like my left hand is a little lower. Maybe it is, but I feel like it's just the perspective of the camera being on my right foot. But you can see that when I made that correction, I made too much of a correction, or I made the correction too fast, and it just set me into an oscillation that it was too late and I was too low to wait for it to correct itself. So unfortunately we ended up on our face, but luckily there was no damage. Everything was okay. Actually, I did rip the strap on my throttle. You can see it kind of dangling, but aside from that, it was nothing but our pride that got hurt on this landing. So, but to finish our thoughts on whether you should go to a paramotor school or self-train, obviously that decision's up to you, but I would probably recommend that a majority of people go to a paramotor school and learn from somebody that has the knowledge and the experience. But at the end of the day, I felt like my basic knowledge of aviation and my background with flying a lot of RC planes and simulators and all of those types of things gave me enough tools to where I could do this on my own. But if you're going to try to do this on your own, you really have to be the type of person that is going to take the initiative to try and learn and search out all the information about weather and about airspace and about basic flight controls, and you're going to have to do a lot of research and watch a lot of videos and get as much information as you possibly can from as many different sources as you can, so that you're as well prepared as possible. And the other thing that I would recommend is just to take your training slow. Obviously, you know, if you go to a paramotor school and you're training all day every day, you might be flying in 2, 3, 4, 5 days, maybe 7, I don't know. But you know, the self-training process is going to take a little bit longer than the school training process. So I think between the moment that I got my motor in my wing and my first flight was over a month. And obviously you have to wait for good weather days, and you have to work around your schedule, but it's a pretty big undertaking, and it's a big responsibility that you're putting on yourself. So the best advice I can give you is just be careful, take it slow, and have fun.